What is up, everybody? How we doing? How we feeling? Welcome to another episode of the Final Vibe Podcast. My name is Kevin Reap, and alongside me is my co-host, Andrew White. Andrew, are you ready for episode 20?
Kevin, I'm ready for episode 20. The question is, are you? Because you just wrecked yourself on your bicycle.
I did wreck myself, but we're still here. I said nothing would just slow me down, and here we are in the studio, ready for, can you believe it, the 20th episode of the Final Vibe Podcast. Pretty exciting. Final Vibe is all about the pursuit of legacy, and this podcast explores all aspects of life and legacy through discussions with all walks of life. And today, we are thrilled to welcome in the studio Brad Newkirk, owner of B&B Bagel in Columbia, Missouri. Brad, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, owner of B&B, folks in Columbia, Missouri immediately are nodding their head and craving a B&B bagel right now. Some folks have no idea what B&B is. We'll dive into that first. Let's dive more into your personal life and how you got to where you are today. So Brad Newkirk is literally the only thing I know about you, your name. What else do we need to know about you?
I am Bagel Man.
You are Bagel Man.
That's actually awesome.
I like that. I'm going to refer to you as Bagel Man for the rest of the show.
Well, and maybe as a quick, fun little question here, if Bagel Man were a true superhero, and maybe he is, what do you think the aesthetic would be?
Well, not the big bagel costume, because that kind of gets in the way of,
Right. It's
saving
not
people and that kind of thing.
functional.
So, you caught me off guard there. No capes.
Do you own a big bagel costume? Have you ever needed one?
There was one there when we bought it,
Sure.
But it was kind of wrecked, so we never used it.
It was there, like someone left it behind?
Yeah. So diving right in.
Perfect segue.
In 2000, my parents had moved to town. My daughter was the first granddaughter born. There's two grandsons, and so they wanted to be close to the granddaughter. It was my brother and I, and my dad had four brothers, so we didn't know that we could have girls. So when she was born, they were really excited, and they moved to town, and we wanted to go into business together. Chesapeake Bagel Bakery was for sale at that time, and I had been in food service my whole life. My dad had two for his whole life, and we decided we wanted to get up early in the morning and make bagels. And so, yes, when Chesapeake was there, they had a bagel costume. It was very hot and plastic and probably not the best quality ever made, so it didn't last long.
What kind of a bagel was it?
I think it was just a plain bagel.
Plain bagel.
Yeah, and you were the cream cheese in the middle of it.
Hilarious.
Wow, yes. That's awesome. So 2000 is when you started.
Yeah.
And it was B&B.
It was Chesapeake Bagel in 2000 when we bought it.
Okay.
It was a franchise. We had a bit of a disagreement with the franchise on how much they were doing versus how much we were paying. And so we came to an agreement to get out of the franchise agreement as they were trying to kill it off. And we were able to negotiate being able to stay a bagel store, which you can't typically do. And it became B&B Bagel in 2006, 2007, somewhere in there.
Wow. So over 15, 16 years that you've been
B&B Bagel.
at B&B Bagel.
Been making bagels for 20 years.
Wow. So you said food service your entire life. What did you do before bagels?
Well, my dad did institutional food service mostly at universities. And so I don't know if you guys have been in like a big cafeteria dish room before, but they're these big, huge conveyor belt dishwashers. And I mean, as early as I can remember, we used to be pulling hot plates and glasses off of the end of the dishwasher, and OSHA would have had a cow. But we learned how to work. And so, I mean, really, literally since 4, 5, 6, I've been in cafeterias. It had a lawn mowing business for a while, but then started working at Tantera, and what would that have been, 86, 87, somewhere in there. Did bus and tables, room service, and then started waiting tables as soon as I turned 18. So that would have been 89. Started waiting tables in 90. Put myself through college that way, working in cafeterias. And then when I graduated, I started working for Applebee's.
Wow. That's incredible.
That's a great resume.
Yeah. So what is it about it that makes you do this day in and day out for so long?
I think interaction with people. I liked being responsible for, I mean, especially when I was a waiter, being responsible for somebody's happiness for an hour. I enjoy talking, as you guys will find out. I enjoy entertaining. I enjoy, exceeding expectations. And that was a way I could do it on a daily basis. And, it just kind of stuck. I did business management was my major because I didn't want to do hotel restaurant management to pigeonhole myself, although that's what I did. And, so it's, it's in the blood, and, I think I'm okay at it. And so that's
I love
where
that. to do it on a daily basis is kind of a cool way to think about it, that you do every day have an ability to serve people and
Oh yeah, absolutely.
and exceed expectations.
We try real hard.
That's awesome.
Well, and would it be safe to say that you don't have to be in the trenches anymore if you didn't want to, but you choose to?
Yeah, so like when we're real busy, they ask me to stay out of the way, which I think is a really nice place to be in life. And I'm not good on the register anymore. I still do a lot more in the back of the house than I'd probably like to, but it's about the bagel. If we don't do the bagels right, why are we in business? So I still bake a lot. I still make a lot of dough. When it is really busy and I'm not doing those things, I like going out and seeing my customers. And right after COVID started, I was saying thank you to people in the drive-thru and just walking down the line of cars saying thank you. And I still really enjoy doing that kind of stuff. I'm doing more of this. I'm doing more podcasts, roundtables, mentoring, that sort of thing. And I like that more than I like making your bagel anymore. But I have very high expectations. My staff has very high expectations, and so they're still keeping an eye on all that also.
I think it's great that after the incredible career that you've had, to go back into not back into, but to go into mentoring is probably the next step that you seem to enjoy.
I love coaching. I love mentoring. I love seeing people have success that have come through B&B. It's just it's a way to give back. I mean, God's given me a lot of blessings and a wonderful, patient wife, great kids. I had, when I was in Warrensburg at school, I had guys that would take care of me and teach me the things. And so, yeah, I think you got to give back. And if you don't, I think you're a little selfish,
Sure.
And so we got to serve, we got to give, we got to teach.
That's cool. I'm curious, where do the super high expectations come from? Because I love high expectations, but I often feel like I'm in the minority and that other people don't hold themselves to that standard. So where does that come from for you?
My mom and dad, I mean, they didn't ever pressure my brother and I, but both of us have been, leaders as far back as we can remember. I mean, captains of teams and assistant coaches. And I don't know. I hold myself to a higher standard than anybody else. But then I also, one of the things that I try to tell people is that we try for perfection on a daily basis. None of us are perfect. There's only one perfect man, and he's none of us. And so that doesn't mean you can't try to be perfect every day, though. And we're not going to do silly things over and over again and make the same mistakes. We're going to find out why they're happening, because we want everyone to have fun. I mean, we're busy. There's no getting around that. But, when you make mistakes and drag everything down, it's just not a lot of fun. So where do they come from? I don't know. It's
just in your blood.
Yeah, it's sometimes the bane of your existence, though, because if you have high expectations and you let yourself get let down when people don't live up to those, it can be hard and frustrating. And over the years, you learn to. You don't want to let go of the high expectations and trying to be perfect, but you can't let every little thing bring you down.
Sure.
Because you'll drive everybody away from you.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Let's talk about something you've done that is perfect, which is, I believe, your bagels.
Oh, can we please talk about the bagels?
Let's talk about the bagels. First of all, what does B&B stand for?
If you ask my wife, her name's Becky. It's for Becky and Brad. But what it actually stands for is the process, boiled and baked. So if you look in Webster's dictionary, a bagel must be boiled and then baked. And so other places that you get bagels, they're usually just round bread. There's very few of us that still boil and bake our bagels, and especially make everything from scratch. The recipes have been modified over the years. I got my training through Chesapeake Bagel. I had to go out to the East Coast, Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and there was a 3-week course out there. My daughter was just 18 months at that point, and learned how to bake bagels, but they were using frozen raw dough. And when we came back here, one of the reasons we purchased Chesapeake was because they were making everything from scratch. So I had to learn how to do dough from the current staff, and they weren't sure they were going to have their jobs or whatever, but still tried to convince them to have faith in me and learn how to make dough that way. And then over the course of the years, especially after my separation from Chesapeake Bagel, we started making some modifications because we were able to at that point and make them better. So I hope after 20 years I do a pretty good job. I don't know about perfect.
That sure seems like it based on the popularity of the bagel.
Do you know how many bagels you've served? Like
Oh,
McDonald's
you know,
says a billion served.
I was thinking about that the other day, and I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but on a given day, we probably averaged over the lifetime, 1,100 bagels a day, 20 years times 360. I mean, a lot.
Wow.
I can't do that math in my head.
No, it seems like a pretty impressive number, though. That's a lot of people that you're
More
that
than
you're feeding.
100.
That's awesome. More than 100.
So I mean, we like to say, I think I can say with confidence that there's nobody west of the Mississippi that's made more bagels than I have. I mean, most restaurants don't last. We've just had, thanks to the community and great staff and God, I mean, we've had such staying power that just by sheer numbers, I mean, I think that's pretty easy to say.
For sure.
It is. And it doesn't stop with the bagels because you do multiple things with the bagels. And I don't want anyone listening to think that it's just a place where you go and get bagels because you do bagel sandwiches.
The egg witch.
Can we talk about the egg witch?
So when people walk in the front door and they don't know what, I mean, the number one thing we recommend is a sausage egg witch on everything. And it over the years, it's become the most wonderful hangover cure. I've heard that, they have it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. People try to recreate them at home and can't. I have kids that have grown up in my shop, go away to college, and they stop by our shop to get a sausage egg witch before they head home. It's a great product. We, on a given Saturday, most Saturdays we'll serve north of 350 to 400. Game days we can do up to 600 egg witches and just on a Saturday.
It's incredible.
Kevin, how many do you think I could eat in one sitting?
In one sitting?
I think I could do 4.
4? I was
Really?
going to say.
You think that would be gross?
That's a lot of bagel.
If we do a YouTube video on it, do we have your blessing to come film it at the shop?
Absolutely.
Here we go. This is how you get content.
After hours, proper social distancing. But yeah,
of course. Yeah, COVID-friendly experience.
Yeah, we could do that.
And if you're listening in 2040, COVID was this really weird time when we couldn't do anything we
We're
wanted to.
all wearing masks right now.
That's right.
We couldn't eat bagels.
Running around like bandits.
You mentioned staff, and one thing I've noticed after visiting B&B over the last 10 years now is that your staff seems to be, absolutely, your staff seems to be of the younger generation. And I think that that's a chance for us maybe to pick your brain a little bit about why that is. You said you like coaching. And I would imagine having a shop every morning where you have people who come in and it might be their first job that they've ever had. Why is that? And have you had any cool stories of people who got their start at B&B, maybe in high school, maybe in college when they moved here, and then have gone on to do awesome things that you've got to watch?
Well, yeah, first of all, I have some employees, and one employee in particular trained me at Applebee's in '94 and worked with me at Applebee's for 3 years. And then I left to go work at a restaurant called Garfield's for 3 years. But when we bought the bagel store, as part of the process of buying it, I made sure she would come work for me and help me run the store. Her name's Teresa Wright. So if you think about that, we've been working together for 26 years. And I have some other, moms working for me that just need a few hours here and there. And so it's really a pretty good mix. Now, if you're in there on the weekends primarily, most of them are at home with their families at that point, so it is younger kids. You're in a college town. Obviously, your biggest source of employees are going to be college-age kids. We're also right next to Rockbridge High School, so those kids come in every day and think it's really cool and it'd be awesome to work here, and they don't realize how hard they're going to have to work. But we've had a lot of those. A couple employees come to mind. First one I'll talk about is a young man named Joe, and Joe came to work for me and hadn't really had a job where I think pursuit of perfection was demanded, and he loved asking questions. And I don't mind questions, but there was an old ESPN commercial where I think Drew Bledsoe asked a question, and maybe Chris Berman said, "Drew, there are no such things as stupid questions, just stupid people who ask questions." So that became my quote to him. So Joe was great. Ended up learning every position in the store, did an internship with me. Some people that were working with us at that time probably wouldn't have believed that would have happened because I was really hard on Joe. And Joe left and graduated, moved out to Denver because he wanted to be in the mountains, got a job, ended up running a couple enterprise rental places. The funny part about that is that when he was going through his training with Enterprise Rental Car, he started to ask a question, and he relayed this story to me. He called me after the day and just had to tell me what happened. So he was in his training, he raised his hand to ask a question, then he put it down real quick. And the person who was teaching the class said, "Oh, Joe, no, it's okay. We don't believe there's such thing as a stupid question." And Joe put his head down and he said softly, "Well, my old boss used to say that there was just stupid people who ask questions." And so the teacher came over and put his hand on Joe's shoulder and said, "Joe, we're going to treat you much better here." And so,
Wow.
Give me a bad rap.
so no, he did it just to play it up because that's who Joe is. So Joe got preferential treatment the rest of the way because he was abused by his old boss.
Right.
Now, he didn't share that he called his old boss and said that he used.
You guys had a good laugh about it, I'm sure.
It was great. And then I had another young man that just needed a good coach, strong coach in his life. He left me, ended up running at Jimmy John's probably 6 months after he left. We didn't leave on the best of terms, but he's got family in town, and every time he comes into town, part of seeing the family is making sure he has time for his B&B family. Another young man started for me at 14 because he liked to wake up early and liked to cook. And he ended up working for me for 8 or 9 years. And he's running a couple, I think 2 McAllisters up in Kansas City now. And it's not always roses. There are arguments. There's frustration day after day of high expectations can wear on anybody. But I try to teach them that it's not about me being hard on them. It's not. I mean, you got a team. All these people were were bakers at one point or another. And if the bagels don't come out, again, why are we in business? And I think it's, in hindsight, they appreciate it. But just like, if you played sports and you had a really hard coach, there were days you just didn't want to go to practice because he was going to expect so much of you. And I don't, I think I did the right thing. I am probably tough to work for, but the results, I hope, are worth it in the end when these young men especially become dads and, significant others, and they know they've got to take care of their family.
For these young kids that you employ, what are the things that they're missing in terms of their work ethic? Like, what are the gaps that you feel like you have to coach the most?
Well, I mean, I've had to teach people how to hold a broom correctly.
Oh, that's one thing, yeah.
They've never washed dishes. They wash your hands. Don't touch your hair, and when your glove's on, and not change your glove. Show up on time. So, I've probably fired in 20 years less than 25 people, and I'd say of those 25, 23 of them because they couldn't show up on time. And early's on time is late. You're letting your team down. Inevitably, we schedule people in when we're starting to get busy. Well, if you're 5 minutes late, that busy time's already started, and now you're walking in and everyone's a little stressed and everybody's frustrated with you. So why not leave 10 minutes earlier? I mean, if you can show up every day at 8:03 when you're scheduled at 8, can't you just move your clock 5 minutes? I think that's one of the big things is just personal responsibility. I mean, show up on time. It makes such a big impression. And, I had one of my kids struggles with that a little bit. And, that's been a source of contention between us. Work ethic, within a day if somebody has it or not. And I don't know that I can teach work ethic. I can teach people how to work, but it's just always there. You can just always see that they'd rather be doing something else. So when you find those kids, and I've had 14-year-olds with great work ethic, I've had 22-year-olds that are getting ready to go get a real job, and they have none. And so it does get a little frustrating, but I don't think it's a generational thing. I mean, there's a new generation every 10 years, 15 years, whatever. So, I mean, I've been through a couple generations now, and there's winners and ones that work hard and ones that don't in every generation.
Sure. On the flip side, what does perfection look like in the bagel industry?
A shift where the time flies. We've made very few mistakes, and everybody's smiling throughout the whole process.
Good vibes.
I mean, yeah. You walk into our store and we're yelling and singing and having fun, and there's a line out the door and down the sidewalk. Everybody's 6 feet apart, I think that just makes everyone smile. We get so many compliments from customers about, your kids are the best workers. And I'm like, thank you very much. I'll pass that on. We try really hard for you guys. You guys are the best customers. I mean, you keep coming back. We're going to keep trying to do. So, we like getting our butts kicked and being tired at the end of the day, but it makes us smile when everybody had a good day.
Yeah.
And not because we're running around putting out fires the
Right.
entire time.
Right. Nail the basics.
Yeah.
Keep people happy.
Absolutely.
It's funny because Kevin and I talk a lot at the end of episodes about customer service, and usually they're miserable experiences. This is making me so rejuvenated for customer service.
Mm-hmm.
It feels good.
Feels real good.
Well,
feels really good.
You're there to work. You can have a good time or a bad time. It's usually a personal choice. And you're there to take care of customers, so do it. And if you don't want to, don't be here.
Right.
And I've had those conversations with people. And, I don't understand why it's hard, but it is. And it usually starts at the top when an owner or a manager becomes apathetic. And I refuse to be apathetic.
You don't seem apathetic to me.
I'm still a little intense about the bagel.
I think the bagel is worth being intense about.
I would say, the intensity is the reason for the success.
I was actually going to share a quick story, and then Kevin, you can launch another question his way. But I went to, obviously before I ever knew you, and really the only way I know you before today is really through email from, my interactions with you as an events director right now. But for years, I would play basketball on Tuesday mornings, and then I would come and have a short little Bible study at B&B with a friend, and I would always get the sausage egg witch, but I would go double egg, and I would get a banana. And I'd only been there like 3 times, and the lady who was always there ringing me up in the morning, Teresa, that's Teresa. I thought maybe it was.
Minnesota ball cap.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a short, tiny, helpful, kind lady.
Yeah.
And she, one day I forgot to say that I wanted a banana, and she said, "No banana today?" And I was like, wow, you know who I am. And I had only been there a few times, I mean, over the years it's stacked up, I'm sure, but to walk into a place and have somebody know you like that is really powerful. And so I think that speaks to longevity of employees and probably you guys.
And customers. I mean,
true, yeah.
I've got an employee that was in her mama's belly first time that I met her.
That's crazy.
And so they're raised in the store. We like building relationships with our customers.
Yeah.
We've been invited to weddings. We've been invited to funerals, for customers. And you don't get that in a chain.
No, you don't get that. And that's big legacy vibes, Kev.
Big time.
This is a legacy podcast.
It is a legacy podcast. I feel like now to pivot into the question I was going to ask.
Love pivoting.
As far as
Pivot.
customer base goes, you've made a change to increase the amount of customers you could probably serve in a day with a second location.
Yes.
Downtown Columbia.
It was the best time ever to open a new store.
You have no regrets about that.
It was, what was the month that it opened?
So we opened in August. Okay. This was a complete God thing. So there's no way. Most of the time you decide to open a restaurant, we're going through this with Camacho Coffee, which I'm also a part owner of. We're opening a new location. It was supposed to be open beginning of September. We're looking maybe December. So that's typically how it goes when you're opening a restaurant. We signed the paperwork and opened 2 months later. Now, there was a restaurant in there already, so there was some equipment. I had a wonderful manager, Brock Bondurant, that was all in, and we got it open. The building owner was phenomenal. We had to punch a hole in his wall for exhaust. We had to do some other things, and we opened in August. Wanted to be open by August 1st. It was August 2nd, and be ready for football season. So everything went great in the fall, and January started out okay. And then we shut down for 8 weeks when all the kids went home. So that was a little trying.
Sure.
Things still aren't quite back to normal, although there's every once in a while we beat last year's numbers. Week to week downtown, it's when we have a football game and we didn't last year. So it's happening once in a while now. I've probably got my best staff head to toe now that I've ever had down there. And the vibes down there are awesome. Mm-hmm. I love the store. It cleaned up really well. When Brock and I were pushing the last table in the place, it fit with an inch to spare in the kitchen. And we just looked at each other, high-fived, hugged, said, thank you, God. It was just an amazing process. So really no regrets. It's just how it worked out that we decided to open right before COVID hit. But I see a lot of potential, and even if I'm not making money every week down there, I think the advertising, the goodwill to the college kids in the town, downtown. I think it was needed for a while. I always said I'd never go downtown. But that's a testament to the building owner down there, Freddie DeMarco, that he made me a deal I couldn't refuse. But he's a very active building owner, and I love it. He's done a great job, gave me a good rate, and so I'm still happy we did it. It just wasn't real convenient the way it worked out.
Right. Well, I'm sure it's only uphill from here. I would imagine when the students finally get back to a normal routine. And
Thank you for not saying new normal.
No, it's not going to be a new normal.
Is it uphill? Like uphill, is that good? Or
Yeah, I
is it
think
downhill?
Sales are going up.
Sales are going up.
Yeah,
Because
sales
I
the
think
uphill.
uphill battle
that's what I
felt.
mean. Yeah, no.
No, I was just trying to make sure you meant that in a good way.
I did mean it in a good way. I hope
I
you
took it as a good way.
That's how I meant it. Of course. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I think.
No, we've got such a good foundation. You're absolutely right. I mean, it's just going to continue to get busier and busier. We're going to get better at what we're doing. I mean, we have a limited menu. We're still trying to figure all that stuff out. So yeah, offering new products, not offering other products. So yeah, it's going to get better and better.
Well, it's a great location. It's about as close to campus as you could get with being off campus.
I just wanted to make sure you could see my sign from Shakespeare's front door.
Absolutely. Yes, you sure can. You sure can.
Well, and tell people where it is because I think a lot of people haven't been there yet. They're used to the south side.
Yeah, we're at 9th and Elm. I mean, just off of 9th and Elm. So behind Campus Bar, it used to be I Am Sushi Burrito, and then
that's right.
Cold Stone before that.
Yes.
It's a great location right across from the Methodist Church. Don't park in their parking lot. But on the weekends, we got free parking in the parking garage. We do have 2 spots next to the building. But 95% of the people walk there. So it's great. We got a patio we get to use from the building owner. So yeah, it's great. And there's nothing like being down there 6:30 in the morning, sun's coming up. Brock used to go out front and sit on the bench and pray there. I mean, it's just downtown Columbia in the morning. There's probably not a place I'd rather be.
It is a special time and a special place.
Absolutely.
So let's touch on COVID just a little bit more as a business owner, as a restaurant owner. There's a lot of scary statistics out in the world right now about restaurants. I think New York is starting to see the impacts, and now the rest of the country is starting to see the impacts of how important restaurants are. So what has the experience been like over the last 8 months of just absolute craziness?
So obviously downtown was affected the most. So if you want to think about us compared to other urban areas, I mean, downtowns are urban areas. So, every other restaurant downtown shut down for a while or permanently. It's pretty scary downtown. We were very fortunate on the south side because we've been there 20 years. We have a pretty loyal clientele. The day that Governor Parsons shut it down on a Friday, saying you can't only take out, carry out, take out, drive-through. We went from 85% in the front door business at the South Store to 15% through the front door and 85% through our drive-through. And we're not McDonald's, Chick-fil-A. We never will be. We make everything when you order it. And so it's always been the bane of my existence having that drive-through because everyone says, why does it take so long? And now we were faced with the possibility of doing all of our business through that one little drive-through window. Am I going to compromise my product and have egg whiches made up and say, no, you can't get that, but here's this egg which with bacon? I just happen to have one here. Or are we going to continue doing things the same way? So that Saturday morning, I mean, it had been 2 weeks where I probably drank a little more bourbon than I should have. I did a whole heck of a lot more praying than I've probably ever done. And Parsons shut it down. And so that morning I was actually at home. And my manager called me and she just knocked it out of the park. She says, Brad, here's my idea for drive-thru. And I said, I'm having a cup of coffee right now. I'll be in an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. You do what you think's right. I can't. And when I got there, we had a line probably 8 or 9 deep in drive-thru. We were busting them out. And we probably did half the sales we would have normally done for a Saturday, but she nailed it. And I started walking up and down, saying hi to customers and thank you through drive-thru. Had a couple of them take my picture and post it and saying, here's what small town, Columbia is all about, supporting local businesses. After those 3 weeks, we did really well. Nobody traveled this summer. And because my staff executed, we're local and we executed, we were busier than we've ever been during the summer. And I don't take credit for that at all. It's great staff. God had a hand in it for sure. I'm just so thankful that our customers kept coming. Our staff executed. I think starting at the beginning of May, I started hiring again because I didn't have enough people for the business that we had. So it was the winners and losers have been really strange. You can't go by Chick-fil-A and not see them 30 deep in their drive-thru. Sonic has just been killing it. McAllister's in the bigger cities have been doing wonderful. So a lot of the QSRs, the quick serve restaurants, have done really well during all of this because it's the evening dining for 2 hours that's been really hurt. So our friends at Gunter House, at D Rose, they've had to push their, call ahead orders. Your food's never as good when it gets home, but people were doing it. Shakespeare set up pickup lines and started selling 6-packs of beer, and, everybody tried to do what they could. But yeah, it's been crazy. And I thank my staff, the customers, God, not in that order, obviously, but, that we were fortunate enough. The PPP program was the best government program ever. Its execution it was incredible. I applied and had my check, I think, within 3 weeks.
Wow.
And Providence Bank, Eric Morrison helped me with that. So the small banks were the ones that got all the money for the small businesses. The bigger banks were having some issues, but the small banks weren't. So there was a lot of good things, I think, that happened. I don't like COVID. I would have taken smaller sales not to have COVID. But I don't like wearing a mask, but I do it. We're trying to get through this. My wife's a teacher. So she gets her kids back on Monday. There's just been a lot of extra stress. And I think without faith, without friends, without family, I don't know how you can get through this.
Well, story is an incredible testament to you and your business, and then also the people of Columbia.
Oh, absolutely.
It's amazing that I think everybody understands the situation that you are all in as these restaurant and business owners. And I hope this podcast is at least an opportunity for some people to hear from an owner themselves that, the drive that they've had to support you guys throughout the last few months is certainly being felt, and the impacts are impossible to measure.
Yeah, Columbia's been great, and I get frustrated with the mask ordinance. People said that they were going to not shop in Columbia. Come on, guys, shop local, okay? Help us out. We give bagels away, we give certificates away, to high schools, to college organizations. We support all your fundraisers all the time. We're not asking for it back, but that's how you kind of take care of each other. And the fact that Columbia didn't clam up. They were finding ways that they felt safe to go purchase locally. In my store, I just can't say thanks enough. I don't know if we were in a bigger city, we'd have had the relationships built up even after 20 years that would have kept us afloat. So Columbia rocks.
Local business is the best business.
That was one of the questions I had. I was going to be for later. What makes Columbia so special? I could ask that and then say, other than the people. What else do you love about the town?
Well, my dad did college institutional food service growing up, and he always used to say there's just something about a college town. There's a different vibe. There's the different level of education. There's a different, whether it's basketball or football, game days, and I just think that the park systems, having Rockbridge, Gans Creek Wild area where I run all the time, having the Katy Trail that most people use, the university is phenomenal. It's flagship university for Missouri. If you're on the East Coast, you're probably like flagship for Missouri. Who cares? But no, come to Columbia, check it out. It's awesome. So I like Columbia. I like the diversity in people. I like the diversity in thought. Missouri's a pretty conservative state, except for Boone County, and then of course around St. Louis and Kansas City. But Boone County's kind of a bellwether too. So if Boone County goes, more conservative, then that's usually where the presidency goes. So it's fun, and we like to consider B&B, a little melting pot of all kinds, because we somebody walks in and says Happy Hanukkah, and I say Merry Christmas right back, but we're friends, we're family, so a lot of that becomes in fun and jest, and we're having a good time with it, but we care about each other. The fact that we can't hug our customers right now really kind of stinks, and we may sneak 1 or 2 hugs in now and then. But it's Columbia's just great. It's such a small town, population 115,000.
So more love for Columbia. Brad, what are the local businesses that you like to support? Do you have a couple like staples in Columbia?
Well, I mean, Kurt Shakespeare's, co-owner of Shakespeare's, and I go back, 20 years to when I was doing this.
Oh, that's cool.
Him and I talk often. So yeah, we're big Shakespeare's. We eat at D Rose. We eat at Murray's. I go over to see Adam to cut my hair when my wife doesn't do it. Elite Barbershop. You find you get in your routines and you go to the same places and you want to be recognized and that sort of thing. And so we don't do big box stores a whole lot. One of the things I love about Hy-Vee is that it's this huge grocery store, but everybody there. And so we get to know a lot of the staff at Hy-Vee. We're in there quite a bit. So that's kind of our local grocery store that we go to. And other than that, we really don't go out a whole lot. So, but they've taken really good care of us at D Rose and Murray's and Shakespeare's and just kind of our Southwest Columbia pocket there.
Oh yeah, we could talk all day. I mean, Kevin, I know you guys just met, but Kevin is the king of supporting local business with his dime.
It's a way for me to justify going out to eat all the time.
I love it though. I mean, when I watch your vlogs on YouTube, I mean, I literally see you make like 3 stops in the same like eating endeavor. Because what was the new place that you went?
Goldie's Bagel. We got Goldie's Bagels at...
Yeah, you tried the bagels there.
We had to try. I mean, I didn't want to bring it up. We have to try
Wow,
them.
he sold you out.
He did. No, we went to Goldie's Bagels and the Pizza Tree breakfast pizza.
I wish them well.
I was talking about Pizza Tree, but...
in the last episode?
Yeah. Because I didn't even know about this new place. Don't be worried, Brad.
Don't
Your business is safe with me.
Thank you.
Then Pizza Trees also has the breakfast pizza.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think it was a great marriage. I mean, you own a pizza. Kurt and I have often, Kurt Murchie at Shakespeare's, have often said, why don't we make, cook bagels at the Shakespeare's? Because we use the same kind of ovens. You just need a big kettle for water, and we can make bagels. So it's a great marriage, and pizza places don't need their places in the morning. So no, I wish Goldie's well. We need more bagels in town. I don't have any competition. So
is that a bagel?
It's all good.
It's Goldie's.
They're boiled in bacon, making them from scratch. As far as I can tell from the Instagram account, I have not been in yet.
A lot of cream cheese.
It's going to be a tense moment.
Should I walk in uniform or not?
Right, but I think their thing is going to be the sandwiches with the cream cheese, and that'll be...
It was a lot of cream chease. I'm not saying that's bad,
cheese.
but I mean, from your video, it was a lot.
So, I mean, where you're kind of scraping some off, but I mean, I like cream cheese.
There you go.
My goal is to make sure that there's not a place I've never been.
That's really cool.
So if an Instagram place pops up, like a Goldie's or Beatbox is another one that...
Oh, yeah. So, Ben used to be over at Peachtree Catering. So, Ben, have you met Ben?
No.
Okay. So, Ben and I go way back at Beatbox. So, Ben and Teresa. Ben used to be part of this renegade group from Rockbridge that would send one person in and they get the answer to our trivia question. And then they'd go back out to the car and they'd come in one at a time and get it right. So we call Ben Cheater when he walks in the door to this day.
Wow, that is terrible.
It's like 14 years that he's been living that down.
That's criminal.
So then we got in the habit of, we'd see one kid walk in and then he'd walk out and we'd change the trivia question.
Brilliant. Yeah, you got to do what you got to do.
The other one answers here like that answer makes no sense.
Brad, all these people in the food industry in town. Do you guys all just like hang out on Friday nights and like...
They all come in for bagels in the morning. Come on now.
Oh, there you go. I should have known better.
Go out at night.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Bedtime is strictly 8 o'clock.
8:30. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. When I think we talked about this before we went live, but the hours of the business that you've chose, because I'm sure when you worked at Applebee's, you probably got off late at night, and then now it's the exact opposite. So you probably had a choice at one point where you could have gone the bar route, and your days would have started at 6 p.m. and ended at 2. So you chose. Yeah.
The thing was at Garfield's, I was the GM at Garfield's.
Which, by the way, was that Jeff City?
Well, there was one in Jeff City and one at the mall.
Okay.
And towards the end, I was running both of them. But I was working 8 to 8. And my daughter was born, and I didn't see her awake some days, and that hurt. My dad always traveled, so we wouldn't see him 4 nights a week, and then he'd come home in the weekends and try to make up for it. And I mean, that's fine. I love him, and they raised us great. My mom and dad did, and but I didn't want to do that myself. My brother ended up going that route in a different industry, and I just didn't want to do it. And so when they moved to town, we started talking about it. And I've always been kind of an early morning person. I mean, like a 5:30, and I'd open cafeterias in college, but 2:30, so
That's not really early anymore. It's barely the next day.
Yeah, that's not morning.
It's almost just late at night.
So the idea is that my wife and I, Becky and I, wanted to raise our kids and have family dinner as long as we could until sports interrupted, obviously, as they got to middle school and high school. And so by purchasing B&B, and I gave my 4 hours in the morning so that I could have those 4 hours at night, and I could coach and we could have family dinner. Right? So I mean, it was a decision that we made and a sacrifice that we made, and we've just never been late night people anyway. So. It went from the 10 o'clock news to maybe the 9 o'clock news, and now it's just like, let's just go to bed.
Yeah, social media. They'll catch you up tomorrow.
Yeah, figure out what you missed.
The news is mainly depressing anyway.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Okay, let's get to know you a little more personally for the last
I
little
didn't
bit of
agree to
episode.
this.
You can still back out of it.
We're throwing him through the ringer.
Well, we know about B&B, which I think is obviously a big part of your life that you're passionate about. You've mentioned wife and kids.
Yes.
Talk about that a little more, just your family and what they mean to you and how you make this all work, having a family and the job that you have.
My wife is the most patient woman in the world. Obviously, I am very talkative and confident, and she keeps me grounded. She has kept faith in our family. She raised 2 kids. I mean, early on, working 70 hours a week, she raised 2 kids pretty much on her own. I got to take the credit for coaching the teams, but she did everything else. She has started multiple small businesses on her own. She has always had a passion for teaching, and she's still doing that today. And I think she always will. My kids are great. Obviously I can't let up every day I come home. So my son would tell you I was pretty hard on him. But they were both runners. My dad ran 3 days a week for most of his life. And when I played football in high school and made fun of cross-country runners, but now I do it 5 times a week. So they kind of picked that up. I used to go for runs and come home and do an extra mile with them or a half mile, depending on what they were willing to do. They were both very successful. Jess was varsity at Rockbridge. We moved up here the last year and a half so he could run for Coach Blackburn. And Alexa was All-State when we still lived in Ashland. And I think had the 40th or 41st fastest time her senior year of the day of all class. So she texted me the other day. This is a testament to our relationship. And so I had just gotten done doing an 8.5 mile trail run, feeling really full of myself. I mean, here I am almost 50 and I'm still knocking
killing
it
the
out
game.
and killing it. And she sends me a text that says 13.1 at a 7:40 pace. Okay.
Yikes. What's your pace on the 13-mile run?
I did a couple this spring when I had plenty of time on my hands. I think I got down about 8:15 or so.
Well, you're not exactly a slug, Brad.
Wow. But she would have trounced me, and I couldn't feel better about it,
Yeah, I'm sure that's a proud moment.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, that it's still, she chose not to run in college. She could have, but she got her mom's brains, so that paid for most of her college anyway. But she ran for fun. Her freshman year, going through adjustment and all that, she was running as much or more than the cross-country team up there. She had some friends on the cross-country team. My son is down at Rolla, brilliant young man. Has my personality and my wife's brains, which is a great, and her looks too. So he's a much better looking version of me and a lot more patient. So he's following my brother's footsteps and getting an engineering management degree down at Rolla. And seems to be doing really well. Struggled a little bit first semester and then came back with a 4.0 second semester at Rolla. Go. So there you
go.
That's a comeback right there.
That is a big comeback.
He's, I don't know that he'll ever be home again. He's trying to get internships and co-ops and good for him, Well, there's a story out there about parents who were suing their son to move out of the house. My kids couldn't wait to leave, and they don't ever want to come back. So I don't know if that's good parenting or bad parenting, but my wife and I are okay with it.
There's no lawsuits involved, at least.
So
That's hilarious.
we're my daughter is very driven like I am, and my son is too in his own way. But she wakes up early, she runs, she works out all the time. My son works out, but usually in the afternoon, and he stays up till 2:00 in the morning. So if the light's on when I go to work, we have a discussion the next afternoon when he wakes up. But when he's home, this COVID, going back to COVID, we were blessed at having our kids home, and I don't know that we've ever had them in the same house again for a month or 2 months. And it was quite a blessing. And we all got along. When your adult kids come back and you guys are actually getting along, it was pretty awesome. And we're not real strict with them anymore. I mean, just tell us where you're going, when you're going to be home. I mean, we're never awake anyway, so.
Right. They know that.
But it worked out great. So I sometimes I wonder why, God's blessed me in so many ways, and especially with a wife. I mean, most of it goes back to her and just supporting me the whole way. And I couldn't have done this without her. Is that personal enough?
I think that's super personal. I'm gonna take it a step further.
Dun.
You seem to be a huge fan of your wife, and rightfully so.
Yeah. She's gorgeous.
She seems like a rock star.
Yeah.
Any tips for anyone out there who wants to live the dream of a marriage that you have?
So, well, first of all, you got to meet her, right? So never be scared to ask the prettiest girl to dance. I ended up.
Don't be a loser, right? Go for it.
I mean, if she says no, just say, okay, maybe next time, or your loss, or there's some other things you could say, but I won't say those on the radio.
Right.
It's one of those things. We met. Be good to her, treat her like a queen. I don't know. I'm lucky. I lucked out. But no, you got to treat her right and take care of her. And it's not always about the biggest house and nicest car. If she wants you home for dinner, be home for dinner. Work it out. If she doesn't want you taking any extra cash you have and investing and doing all these crazy things with it, then make sure she's got her safety net around her. Learn what makes her and figure out what you can do differently. And it's just, God brought us together. She traveled a lot. Before we met at Warrensburg, she was living in Shelbina, but she had lived in South Carolina, California, Arizona, and she ended up, in Warrensburg, and I met her. So, again, it's not fate. I mean, it's God working there, and we're 20. Got married in '96, so 24 years. So it's been a lot of fun. Good ride.
Where were you the first time you saw her? Was she like an instant knockout, and you thought, I'm going for this one?
Yeah. So no, I was it was college, right? So I got dared to go to this other girl's room by my fraternity brothers, and her and her friend came down and asked if they looked okay, and I'm like, wow. And so she wouldn't really talk to me very much, but her friend would. So when I'd see him out at bars or whatever, I'd go talk to her friend, and I asked her friend to dance, and she said no, but Becky will, and so we danced.
Even better.
And so then of course I tried to give her a kiss, and I got the cheek treatment for about 6 months. Every time I go to kiss, I get the cheek. So she made me wait. So before I left for the summer, before we got together finally. I bought her a rose before I left for the summer, and I think she remembered. She was a Domino's pizza phone girl, and so when I'd call in and get my Domino's, once we started dating, she'd draw hearts and stuff on it, and the guys delivering the pizza would be like, "Oh, that's not from me."
Just so you know, just to be clear.
I love that. That's awesome.
Man, that is a good story. That's an old school flirtatious beginning.
It's a long game for
Cheers.
sure.
You got to play the long game.
It was chess, not checkers.
Yeah, the short game's, that's a loser's game.
Yeah.
No one's going to have any cool stories in 20 years. It's just going to be I swiped right, and they swiped right, and then here we are.
And she took off her mask, and she had all of her teeth, and it was love.
And it was good enough.
It was 2022, and we're in the apocalypse, and we just need to have a spouse. Just kidding. Okay, let's go deeper than for you personally and ask the big question. We say the podcast is about legacy, and I want to know what legacy means to you, and when you think about the impact that you will leave on this earth when you are all said and done, what do you hope that is?
So we had a running club down in Ashland. I kind of took one over and became kind of my ministry for a while. My kids helped me coach, and we got several kids in Ashland together, and my dad pulls me aside one day, and he says, son, I want you to think next time you're out there about how many kids that you're coaching, whether they're running or not, but you've impacted, and how many of those kids and those kids and those kids. And then you think about the store and how many kids you've had work and their kids are going to be of age before long, and they'll probably come work too. And so, just think about that, and then, think about how you're treating them. So you can make this a really good experience or a really bad experience. I hope, whether they liked me or not, that they respected me. I hope. I have a temper, so even keel's probably not the right word to say, but that I was consistent, that I was a man of character. I want to be a good man. Talking about wife, I just want my wife to think I'm a good man, and I want my kids, and I want my staff, and those kids that I coached, I want them to look me up once in a while, or if they see me out, hey, do you remember me? When you coach. So legacy, I think, is making a positive impact on someone that transcends generations,
Touching lives meaningfully in many different ways.
I would say you're doing that from the stories that you've been able to share over the last hour, for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's been a blessing for sure.
Yeah. We'll toot your horn. He looks too humble. He's not going to do it. We'll do it.
You just said I was humble. I think that might be the first time ever.
No, it's the right mix of confident and humble.
Yeah, I like it.
Thank you.
Confidence is not arrogance.
I'm not conceited. I'm just convinced. That's from Guy, it's circa 1992 or so.
I have not seen that, but I do. I like that line.
That's a good line. Kevin, do you want to lighten things up and ask a few fun questions, or do you have any more
I think we should.
soul-probing questions?
No, we'll leave the soul alone. Let's have some fun.
We'll leave the soul alone.
Yeah.
Brad, I want to know, you seem like a fit guy. You're a runner. You used to play football.
Yes.
What else did you do? Because do you lift weights, or is this just God's gift to your biceps, or what's going on here?
So I cut wood.
Manly stuff.
And so my son comes to me and says, hey, Dad. So we were in Ashland. We lived out on north side of Ashland, and so I'm cheap too. So I didn't want to pay for propane, and we had a wood burning furnace. So I'm like, okay, let's not buy propane and let's cut wood. It's one way for me to get out my stress, and I like doing it. We split everything by hand. So my son was swinging an 8-pound maul when he was 11. I've got a picture I'll show you.
Does he have all his toes?
He still does, yes. Yeah, and the shins aren't messed up or anything. So, but we started cutting wood, and my son said, hey, can we sell some wood? And I'm like, okay, well, we got to make a different pile because you're not taking my stuff. And so we started cutting more wood, and we've been cutting wood now and selling it. So I do a lot of that. We like to say our gym pays us. So when we go out and split wood and cut wood, I do lift weights some. I do some core work. The guys at Fitco have, which is right down the street
right
from
next
us.
door almost.
They've helped me out a couple times when I've been injured and taught me some things. And so, I want my kids to be fit. I want to be fit. I think it's a dad's responsibility to be fit so he is alive longer and can do things. My goal is to run a 5K with my grandkids like my dad did with my daughter and my son, so we can have 3 generations running. If he's, God willing, still there in his 80s, maybe we'll have 4 generations. He's 75, I think, and he's still running a couple miles a couple times a week. So
That's amazing.
And he really hasn't aged in the last 40 years. So people see us and they're like, oh, you're Jess's son. I'm like, yeah, I'm also Jess's dad. So that's my son's name. So
That's cool.
that's one of my dad jokes, so just to confuse people even more. But no, I run a lot. Started doing that in 2000. The story there is that my dad had a heart attack in the winter of 2000. And then he wanted to do the St. Patty's Day 5K, which was about 4 months after his heart attack. And he says, I need you to run with me in case I have any issues. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I had to ask him to slow down.
Wow, how'd that feel? Stung a little bit.
Humbling.
You seem like a competitive guy. I think that one stung.
That one hurt. So I think we ran about a 36 5K, and I had to ask him to slow down. Had to walk a couple times, and so since then it was off and on to start with, but really probably for the last 10, 12 years it's been mostly on. So I try to be outdoors as much as I can, and I think it keeps your immune system up. Good vitamin D. So I try to be faithful and about that. It's also a great time to pray and think and work through problems and ask for forgiveness and just say thank you for all the blessings. And so that's kind of my time where I can, with a temper, you got to find outlets, and so that's a very positive outlet.
Sure. I think there are probably a few things that we all share in common, but the therapeutic values of exercise seems to be a big one.
Absolutely.
Kevin, you're a big cyclist. You talk about how you'll get on the road and you'll just think, and all your best ideas from Final Vibe have come when you've been on the road.
Yeah. 4 hours with just nothing but your brain is you can accomplish anything. You can solve any problem and dream up any.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer in being purposeful with that too. I mean, there are days where I go out and I don't think. There are days that I go out to work through a problem, and there's days that I go out and just try to listen, and see what God has for me that day. If you go out and you're trying to too hard to I don't know, work something out or just let your brain wander, you can't get any accomplishment, through there. So I like to say that, if something pops in my head, I chase that idea down for a while and see where it goes. And then I'll change my thoughts. So I'm pretty intentional. I'd say probably 90% of my runs on what I'm doing while I'm thinking. Never wear headphones. God's got too many great sounds and things going on. I want to know what's going on around me. And I don't want, information fed to me unless it's from him. So.
Wow.
That's a hot take. Yeah.
That is a hot take.
That's a good take.
I try to take my headphones out maybe a fourth of the time that I'm working out for that reason, to just completely listen to what else is out there and not whatever I'm trying to blare into my brain. I like that. That's a cool answer.
It is a cool answer. Yeah. Kevin, while we're on fitness, there's a very important question we need to know.
There is, and you might have a great answer. How much protein do you eat every day?
I have no idea.
Is that what you're going to ask?
It's the one you were going to ask.
How many grams of protein? I think I currently have 7 jars of peanut butter in my cabinet.
All right. So
peanut butter man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Lots of peanut butter.
What kind of peanut butter?
Yeah, I was going to say which brand.
It's Super Chunk.
Super Chunk.
Super
Oh,
chunk.
it's got to be Super Chunky.
But the brand, though.
Oh, the brand?
Yeah.
As long as it's Super Chunky, I don't
Super chunky. Not just chunky,
Oh,
folks.
Super Chunky.
Have I ever seen Super Chunky peanut butter? I don't
Yeah,
know
you
if I've
have.
ever
I mean,
seen it.
Jif has a super chunky.
Yeah, I think that's what I have
Is it
currently.
purple?
Yeah.
What's that?
It's
Is it purple?
navy.
Navy. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That brand.
It's been a while. I'm more of I don't like the chunks. Interesting.
You know what peanut butter is made out of, right?
Exposed.
Oh, no.
Chunky
I
peanuts.
mean, I like them, I guess. The textures.
Yeah.
Smooth peanut butter. Yeah. Smooth
So no,
jelly.
I don't track anything. So I started, doing the intermittent fasting probably about 4 or 5 months ago, and my son and I raced to 170. I was going down and he was going up, and I did it through intermittent fasting because I don't want to give up my food.
Yeah.
But if I don't eat after 6 and I wait till 11 o'clock the next day,
Right.
I'm good to go. And I lost 13 pounds, during the outbreak of COVID in February, March, and April. And I've maintained it, but I've never. I mean, I eat red meat. I eat ice cream. I had ice cream, I think, around 2:00 today.
Nice.
I just whatever. And I've been lucky enough that as long as I burn more calories, it's good to go. So I've really never tracked protein.
Yeah, totally. Well, most people don't. We just,
I get a lot of peanut butter though. Big fan.
Yeah.
I love peanut butter.
Yeah. See, that's the perks of just living an active lifestyle. You don't have to
Absolutely.
care too much about what
Yeah,
you're
you just gotta.
you're putting in there. Stay healthy. Stay active.
What's the best bagel you've had east of the Mississippi?
Kevin, we don't do that. I'm kidding.
Proper Bagel in Nashville. So my oldest nephew went to Belmont and on a track scholarship, so they had to pay $16,000 a year so he could run track. So we've been out there a couple times. That was my daughter's dream, but we laid out the numbers and asked her how she was going to pay for that. So she's at Kirksville. But anyway, we've been there several times, and actually, Proper Bagel had just opened. One time we went, and I went in and said, "Hey, you guys boil and bake, right?" And the lady's like, "Well, of course. What do you know about it?" And I said, "Well, I got a little shop in Columbia, so I got a little quick tour." But they're much more proper. I'm sure they sell a lot too, but we sell a lot, and we get you in and we get you out. And theirs was more of a dine-in, and they had fillet after fillet of salmon for their Novalox and that sort of thing. So they took it a little bit more seriously. But I mean, it was a really good bagel. And then I got hooked on bagels when I was working for Applebee's when Brugger's was downtown, and my GM would bring in warm cinnamon raisin bagels, and so I mean I'd munch on those quite often. So.
Is there any product that you fantasize about incorporating someday that won't reveal any top secret plans that you may have currently released?
So, I mean, I don't know that it will ever happen, but we've always talked my grandpa, my maternal grandpa was full-blood Czech, and so there's kolache. Kolache are not done right. If you've had one and it wasn't from a Czech person, then it wasn't right. And so we have an authentic Czechoslovakian recipe. They used to run a kolache kitchen periodically for fundraisers down in Caldwell, Kansas. And I have that recipe, and I'd like to do kolache Saturdays, but it's just not, I've never had enough free time to try to make that happen.
And just in case people are like me and don't know what kolache is, what is that?
So I have not had, Harold sells kolache, I think. I don't know how often they have them, but I have not had one. So maybe he is doing it right. Maybe he's part Czech. I don't know. But it is a sweet dough. And then it has a filling in it, kind of just pressed into the middle. But the filling's often like date or apricot or something along those lines.
Love dates.
So it's kind of a different product. It's almost as sweet as a donut, but not really. But then you put the fruit in it, and they're about probably about a third smaller than what a bagel is. And I mean, you can munch 6 or 7 of those at a sitting,
maybe 10,
and get yelled at by your grandma. Those aren't for you. So I'm having flashbacks.
So they kind of a dessert. They're a sweet item.
Yeah, I mean breakfast, brunch item.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
like a Danish. I mean,
sure.
Probably the closest thing.
I love that. Yeah, that's a good point.
So I think it'd be complimentary and kind of bring up a little bit more of my history and where I'm from and there's just not a lot of that out there right now.
No, not at all. I mean,
there's Kolache Kitchen franchise down in Texas. There's several of them, but nothing really up here.
Brad, you seem like a hard worker. You ever go on vacation?
For our 19th wedding anniversary, 20th wedding anniversary, we went to Colorado on a mission trip with my kids.
Nice.
We slept on different floors in a church. So that was, I'm a romantic.
Yeah, not a luxury man.
No. So I think there was 15 of us on the trip. I think that's the last big vacation that we took.
I like that you still call that a vacation.
Totally. I don't know if that would qualify.
Well,
in my
actually,
household.
the next year when my daughter was a senior, we went back and actually got to stay in a little house about a mile north of Pearl Street in Boulder, and that's our last big vacation. We were going to go to Israel this last year with the crossing, and COVID happened. So, we were going to just we've never been on vacation. Let's go to Israel, and had it all paid for and everything, and COVID came. So we'll see, but not really. We don't do vacations.
Perfect. Kevin, hit him with one more.
If somebody's visiting Columbia for a dinner and you want them to have the entree, where are you going and what are you going to order for them?
That's a great question. Maybe I'm this guy. Maybe I'll do this tomorrow.
I'll probably get whatever you say.
Well, so if it's a football Saturday, I mean, you're at Shakespeare's.
Okay.
You probably are.
I mean, you got to be. You got to hit Shakespeare's.
And what are you going to order, though? I mean,
pepperoni pizza with wheat crust, and I'm gonna have a couple Bobber Lagers with that.
you ever? Bobber Lager, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so we're gonna go local beer, local pizza.
Yeah. You ever do the pepper jack on the pizza?
No,
Don't do that.
I'm a traditionalist.
Fair enough.
Traditionalist.
Keep it simple.
So no pineapple.
They have good
I mean, but if we're gonna go out to eat, I mean, I'd do a burger at Flat Branch and have a Katy Trail Pale Ale.
Wow.
And they've got some of the best nachos in town. No cheese sauce, so it's real cheese melted. We do smoked wings and nachos at D Rose.
Mm-hmm.
I usually their chicken Philly there is really good. So those are probably our mainstays, those 3 places. And so whatever the person, is looking for, I think we can handle it. If we're going to go steak, I'm going to go to Murray's, and hang out there.
Just
and
get that steak sandwich that you can easily pick up with.
That's what I had last time I was there. Yeah, I can't read the menu. It's too dark in there. So I just,
And nobody can see anything. It's a great place for first dates.
Whatever you get the first time you go is what you get every time because you
can't read the menu.
Steak sandwich with blue cheese.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
And D Rose has got the best blue cheese in town. They do a really good job with their blue cheese dressing.
I just had blue cheese on something from there. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, the blue cheese crumbles are amazing. We always get side salads just so we can have the blue cheese. So
One of my favorite things about D Rose is the sweet potato fries.
oh yeah,
They're kind of hard to find in Columbia.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of places doing
well,
sweet
and
potato
they don't
fries.
put cinnamon on them. So that's when you do get sweet potato fries, a lot of other places there's cinnamon. No, I just want sweet potatoes.
Yeah, I like cinnamon for sure on a baked sweet potato. On the fries, though, I don't need them.
No.
They're very good at. What did you say?
D-Rose, yeah.
They're also good at Stadium Grill. You wouldn't expect it, but
haven't been there
Yeah,
in a while.
They have delicious sweet potato fries.
Perfect.
How do we feel?
Feel good.
I feel
You feel good, Brad?
You guys ready to go for a run? We're going to do that when we're done, right?
Absolutely.
I would love it if I could run around. I tried to walk last night around the loop, and I couldn't do it. I'm going to try again tonight, though.
Poor Kev. I'll get all the steps in that you deserve.
Thank you. The doctor yesterday told me I should walk my hand up the wall
Oh, yeah.
to get some mobility. I tried that earlier, and I got...
You don't think you tore your rotator cuff or anything, did you?
That's what we'll find out tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm going to get a CAT scan and make sure that the collarbone isn't broken. I've had 9 x-rays at the ER, and they said nothing was broken. But then when I went yesterday, he said I still got a weird spot over here.
So one of my keys at this age to be still running is Blue Tail. If you haven't been to Blue Tail yet, you need to go check them out. They do stem cell and PRP,
Okay.
and they injected my right knee. And I think it was 13th week after the injection, I ran 8 miles at about an 8-minute pace.
Wow.
If I'd had another meniscus surgery, I'd have still been hobbling.
I've not even heard of this. Blue Tail.
Blue Tail there on West Broadway.
It's the future, Kev.
Yeah, what am I doing? I'm just sitting here waiting.
So
Taking Advil.
the shoulder's not a fun thing because I had my shoulder done too at the same time, and it hurt a lot because the swelling has no place to go in your shoulder. But if you have like a partially torn something, you need to go see them. The other great thing about them is they will tell you if they can't help you.
Okay.
It's not covered by insurance. The doctor visit is, but the procedure is not. But it's so worth it.
Yeah, not even eventually. Right away, you get to a point where you're like, I'll do whatever.
Yes.
Well, you're officially becoming Joe Rogan now because, Joe Rogan's done everything like that.
He would do something.
Yeah, that's exactly what he would do. So
Wake up
following
and-
his footsteps.
Yeah. Vitamin IVs on my way there and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I hear a sausage egg, which is really good for your shoulder too.
You said hangover. I was about to say that. I won't agree with that. But
It's the hangover elixir.
that is such a true statement.
I'm going to do the 4 bagel challenge. 4
Well,
egg wick.
I think
4
I can
egg
do
wick
4.
challenge.
I can do
All right.
4. We're going to do a 10,000 calorie challenge some point in the next month.
Okay.
We're going to try to eat 10,000 calories probably between 7 and 7 a.m., 10 p.m. And we have days where we're like, this is going to be the easiest thing in the world. And then we have days where he's actually successfully done it.
I've done it once, but it wasn't easy. But I'm back to feeling cocky about it, So we need to do it, and I need to be humbled.
With the fasting, I think my stomach is shrunk.
That would be tough, yeah.
And I can only eat half a burger now, and I'm like, eh.
And that's where I got too, because I've been cutting. I've lost 10, 15 pounds over the last few months, and my stomach is shrinking, and now I'm not going to know. I don't know how I'm going to do it.
It's going to be right here.
Yeah. Just finish the
be in
video.
your throat.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this, fellas. Mine's not shrinking, so I'll pick up your slack.
Well, thank you.
I'll do
Kevin, if you need to go
7,000.
5,000 and I need to do 15,
15.
I'll pick you up.
20,000 between the two.
That's right. That's a good point.
Yeah. All right. Sorry,
Perfect.
we're-
Kevin, do what you do best.
Well,
Give
first,
us the outro.
okay.
Thank Brad for being here. And then say whatever you want to say.
Okay, Brad, thank you so much
Thank
for
you, guys.
joining us this evening. This was fantastic. Your work ethic and your attitude and wisdom has been really inspiring, for real. This is a fantastic conversation. I had a feeling it would be, just judging
Well,
from
thank you.
The history of B&B and learning more about yourself has been fantastic. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, it's almost like we invited him because we had a hunch he was a good dude.
It's true. We did. Great call on your part.
Hunch.
Great call on your part.
You took pity on me. Thank you.
Wanted to give you a platform. All right, folks, don't forget, if you are looking to change your life.
Kevin, I'm going to give you the song. You can't just start the outro without the song. You know how this works, right?
Well, I was trying to make it.
It's just more vibey this way.
Don't forget, folks, if you are looking to change your life and focus more on your own legacy, a Final Vibe membership provides you with immediate access to a community of people doing just that, as well as other exclusive content. Today's episode was produced by co-host Andrew White. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe to future episodes and tell one other person about us. We appreciate all of the support that we've received so far, and we hope to see you online. Final Vibe is on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Final Vibe, and you can see our website, apparel, shop, blog, coffee, and so much more at finalvibe.com. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we will see you back here next Tuesday for another episode of the Final Vibe podcast. Thank you so much for listening.
And enjoy your Tuesday.